Welcome to the Power Couples Rock podcast, where our mission is to build a collective community of marriages, where we encourage, inspire, and support one another in order to have masterful marriages. We're Carlos, Catherine, Chris, and Sonia. Please check us out, powercouplesrock.com. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. We believe that one of the most amazing legacies we can leave in life is a great marriage. So we hope you'll listen, learn, and love the conversation. Let's power up.
Welcome to the third discussion of a three-part series on non-negotiables in marriage. If you missed the previous two PowerPods called Divorce is Not an Option or Let Parents Be Parents, it's all good because you can go back and listen to them at your leisure. The third non-negotiable is community rocks. Let's do this.
So, Power Couples Rock. A lot of these podcasts, we're not probably talking enough about Power Couples Rock because we're all just so passionate about doing life together and non-negotiables and all of that good stuff. But powercouplesrock.com.
Yes.
Facebook, Power Couples Rock. Facebook.com/powercouplesrock. Is there
Twitter?
What? We're going to be tweeting?
Power Couples Rock.
Tweet.
Wow. So it's at Power Couples
Rock.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is amazing.
Amazing.
All right. So everybody listening, go follow on Twitter. Go like on Facebook. Go to the website. You can see Carlos and Catherine. They're beautiful people. I'm not beautiful, so I don't get a picture on the website. But apparently I'm mentioned
Chris
in
will
their
put
book.
your picture on our website.
We have a Power Couples Rock YouTube channel they
sure
can
do.
go to.
Oh, boom, segue.
Yes.
The YouTube channel as well. So, which is what?
Power
Power
Couples
Couples
Rock.
Power It's simple, folks.
Power Couples Rock.
That's right. So this, I think, is probably the non-negotiable that I feel most strongly about, and I'm excited to talk about this, Carlos, and that's community.
Yes. So the last couple of podcasts we talked about divorce not being an option. The second is allowing our parents to be parents. So this, which is our last non-negotiable, is community. And so let me start off by saying it has always been our prayer, our desire, and our intentionality that no matter where we live, we were always going to be in community with other married couples. And because that was our prayer, anytime we went anywhere, God just surrounded us with beautiful, Christ-loving, value-oriented couples, just like you guys, the Stones.
Yes.
Amazing. Right?
Awesome. Power Couples Rock.
But it's very important that we don't have our marriage on an island all by itself.
Yep.
And we get insular and just one track that it's just about me and Catherine. Because we need community so that we can grow. We can have people. I mean, Chris, you and I have had so many conversations about parenting, guys, and stuff that we need to do to own up to our responsibility as men. And that's been very helpful to have a community that we can do life with. Because we've been
100%.
we've been doing community for how long now?
Oh,
Like 6, 7,
Has
8
it been
years?
that long?
yes.
It's been that long.
It's been that long.
Gone by really quick. If
Really
it's been
quick.
that long.
It's been long.
Because we were doing, how long have you guys lived where you are now?
4 years.
4 years. We were doing it before then. And
Yeah.
we've
Yeah,
been in our
definitely.
home for over 15 years now, about 15 years.
About 15 years.
And so we probably started doing it about 8 years ago. About 7 or 8 years ago.
Probably so, because I know it was when Ben was playing soccer that we
Mhm.
met Sheila and Roddy.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
yes.
So,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
then shortly after there, you guys.
And so for people who are listening right now and they hear the word community, they think the neighborhood, right? They don't maybe understand what you would consider a definition of community. And maybe not definition by the purest sense of the word, but what is community to you? I know what it is, but I think it's really important for people to understand what you feel is community.
Do you want to go first, Catherine?
I'll piggy off of you.
Okay. So community to me means a people who have shared values. Right. So for us, our community is a group of married couples, families that have a unified value system. And we like to do life together. So it's not just about we're going to do a Bible study together.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about we're just going to socialize. It's not we're just going to do a service project. But we try to incorporate all those textures into doing life together so that we can get to know couples on all levels. And that's what makes our community, what we feel like, so rich, because it really enhances our relationship with all the other couples and families.
Mm-hmm.
And so people now start to let their guard down, let their walls down, and we can really be real with each other, transparent with one another, help each other because we've been doing life together.
That's it.
Yes.
Right?
And I can add to that. I love when we say we do life together and that we go the extra mile. We hang out. It's not only about challenges, but it's about celebrating successes and things in your lives. And we know your children and you know our children, and we hang out and kick back, come to pool parties and
Laugh a lot.
And they still want to know us after knowing our children. They still want us to come over.
Exactly.
Because you're awesome.
I love our children.
We go through hard issues together. I remember community was so important when Carlos was ill. And we are in Georgia, and we have family members that live about an hour away from us. But immediately when the family knew that he was in the hospital, they gathered around us. The community gathered around us.
I remember when we heard it. We dropped. Everyone dropped everything.
Everything.
We just went.
Yeah.
Yes, they came to the hospital, prayed with us. They relieved me from the hospital, saying, "You go get some rest. We stand." The men took shifts. I mean, that was just community. The women, the families, I should say, they made sure we had meals every night. The boys were taken care of, and that's what community.
I mowed that lawn. I got
You
rocks
mowed my lawn.
cut on my leg from your backyard.
That's
I
before
still
we
have
got
Still has the
scars.
scars.
I still have scars from that.
That meant a lot to us. That you
It
don't
really did.
community is
And
that you don't have to ask.
we loved doing that, and what was amazing about that was all of the men and Scott and Steve and all of the guys that were there. Everyone just was like, "All right, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? I can do that. I'm doing that. Well, what about this?
Wow.
What about this?" We all just did it and picked up, and not it just was a part of what we were to do. And I think we knew that if anyone else were in that spot, they would do it as well. If I was in that spot, you guys would be doing it.
Yes. Things I didn't think about, I would tell you, that was just brought tears to my eyes. One of the men said, "Well, who's his barber?"
Yep.
We have him come up and cut his hair. I was like, "Oh my God, I didn't even think about."
Yeah, Carlos
Yeah,
likes
I was
to
looking
keep
at
it
that.
high and tight. You can't.
What little
Can't look.
I still have.
Yeah.
It looks
It's
good,
starting to get a
Carlos.
little gray. We had a little just for men on that thing, man. We can't look. So today's podcast is sponsored by Just for Men.
Exactly.
That
was
meant a lot.
when Jerome, my barber, came up. That was amazing to me. I was like, somebody thought of that, and I needed it.
You really
But it
did,
was
but
amazing.
Well, it
okay.
helps having those people stand in the gap for all of the
Right.
things that you maybe forget during those difficult times that you don't think about, but they're there to think about them for
Mhm.
you.
I remember when Chris was away with your mom and dad,
Mm-hmm.
and I was determined. I'm calling him almost every day. I'm calling Sonya. I'm letting the community know what's going on. How do we actually stand in the gap for Chris and
I felt
where he
that.
was?
Yeah, it was greatly appreciated.
Well, I tell you, what was really exciting is that going through that process, I could literally see your spiritual growth
Mm-hmm.
because you were leading
Mhm.
part of your family through that process.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you were
they
stepping
could
in.
feel it as well because I was communicating to them. I was like, my community group, and I had to explain what that
What
was.
that was.
Right?
Right.
What do you mean your community group? Like, you guys, your subdivision, you guys are all
Right.
meeting and talking about landscapers?
Right.
What are you doing? I had to explain to them what that was and what they were doing and how you guys had dropped everything at that moment where my mom was at a really critical part of her situation and how impactful that was in the moment and how that helped us through that situation.
Mhm.
And they felt that, and that was really important.
Yeah. I mean, the community group has been there for our children when they've
Mhm.
gone through
Mm.
some tough issues
Mhm.
growing up as adolescents. That was tough. It's this is on the job training for parents. You
Yep.
just learn as you go. But have conversation and share with a lot of the people in our community group, they helped us get through some of those tough issues. And they also could just feel free to even pick up the phone to call our children or text our children,
Mhm.
let them know that they were thought about. And that goes a long way because I hear my sons now who are 26 and 21 that they just like say, who's going to be over to the house today?
I'm serious. They were excited about coming over here
Oh,
tonight.
yes.
They were
That's
so
awesome.
I'm
excited.
glad we had the entire green team.
Yeah.
Free machine.
Free machine in the
Yes,
house.
right?
Yes,
That
we
was
still.
amazing.
That brings joy to my heart that you can
I know it
still, no matter
does.
what age, they can come over and we can still have great conversation about just anything. And they see that. And I see that in my boys doing when they the other day, Isaac was doing videos at the house. And he said, Mom, he texted both of us and said, well, I have some friends going to come over. They want to shoot videos over to the house. So,
Okay.
so I didn't know it was like going to be a like 12.
9 of I was like, how many people keep coming through the door in the house?
We was introducing ourselves, and it reminded us of just like the community we already created. He's even
He sees
creating
that.
his
He sees
own
it.
community.
Yeah,
It's
that's
a
awesome.
model.
Yeah, it's
That
a
is
model.
awesome.
It's a model.
I think one of the things about the community group that I've seen throughout the years is we will intentionally have these meetings in a semester.
Oh
right?
yeah.
And Carlos does a wonderful job of orchestrating the plan for what we're learning as a group, and inevitably we'll get to a particular subject, and it just goes. And I know there was a plan for that meeting, but what ends up happening is not what the plan was because we're not in control, right?
That's right.
And so we'll talk about something, whether it's relating to the marriage, whether it's relating to parenting,
Mhm.
whether it's relating to just life in general, and someone will say something that just breaks sort of that wall. You talked about the walls coming down a little bit.
Yes.
And it's a little uncomfortable for some of those folks that don't know some of the other folks in the room, right? But pretty soon, everyone's just sort of talking because you're just feeding off of that, right?
Yes.
You're just bouncing those ideas and you're sharing those things, and someone's praying for you, and just to know that. I mean, how huge is that?
Mhm.
You're in a room of 10 people, 15 people, 25, it doesn't matter. Those people are bringing you before God.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they are thinking about you, and they are giving you advice and just pouring into you, and just, that is huge.
Yes. Yes.
And then Carlos will get to the end of the meeting. Well, we didn't get to exactly everything I wanted to get to, but we've got other weeks to get there.
Exactly. But I want to go back to when we first started community, when we were here, and you all were invited to come.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe, Sonya, you're like, yeah, I'm all in. But
Oh,
Chris,
she's like, I don't think Chris is going to be accepting of a
Right?
group.
Oh,
He's-
absolutely. Absolutely.
Remember that?
He's always a little bit on the hesitant side when it comes to group.
Yeah.
He's always said, I can stand up in front of hundreds of people and talk with no problem.
Thousands, yeah,
But
sure.
when I get in a small group, which requires being transparent and a little bit more.
Like you don't have your pants on?
Yeah, kind of like that.
All right, you weren't going to say that?
That's not what I was
okay.
going to say.
All right.
Where you may have to be a little bit more open. It's a little harder for him.
I remember you
So,
saying that.
yeah.
right?
And the
Yeah.
time that you said that and Chris began to speak, and I was like, is that the Chris that Sonya Sonya was talking about? I was like, he's kind of opening up.
Talking
It took
a little
maybe a
bit.
couple of meetings,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, he did.
it's I think you kind of break out of that, when you
Yeah.
get with a group of people that really care about you and you know that they care and they've got your back. It becomes easier and easier.
does.
So, yeah,
Yeah. What's unfortunate is that we don't have any fun.
any fun. We don't laugh.
got none.
Can we work on that
So
maybe a
boring.
little bit?
Right.
So let me ask this. Someone who's listening to this and they're hearing this and it's and they're like, yes, this I want to do this. I want to get into a community.
Mhm.
Where do they start? Maybe they don't necessarily know anyone. They've got friends, but like what would you suggest would be maybe a first step for someone to start making that step to get with a community group?
Okay. I would say, number one, first of all, you find like communities. Like if you're in a church, sometimes church, you can start there. I play tennis. Sometimes I'm looking at people who like some of the same things or have the same moral values that I have. And we just say, hey, can we, go out maybe for dinner one time, or can we just play tennis just to create relationship, start relationship building. And then that helps you as a couple, because we really want couples to come together. That helps you as a couple. And we pray about who, like, God, please send us somebody that we can build that relationship.
okay.
So you look at things that you're already involved in. Now, of course, we go to a big church, so it's not like you could be in a small group with 3,000 people. But I think if you focus and say, man, we'd like to build community, let's find some people who have like-minded like us, and then start just saying, what do you like to do? And that's one way I would start. There may be some other.
No, I
ways
like
you
that.
think.
And I would say make sure that I mentioned textures earlier, right? If you do start a community group, make sure you incorporate several different aspects of doing life together.
Mm-hmm.
So you study together, you play together, you do community service projects together, because some people may not feel as comfortable doing the study because they may feel inadequate about, I don't really know the Bible very well,
Right.
but they could be excellent at community service projects.
Right. They want to serve.
They wanna serve.
That's their
Yeah.
gift. Yeah.
So that is their
Absolutely.
gift. So they feel comfortable in that space. And there's some others that are amazing socialites, right? So they love planning parties. So you could do Christmas parties, pool parties, rugged maniac parties.
Oh,
You
my
can do-
goodness.
all right. You can do all of those, and that creates community.
Yeah.
So when you do that, just make sure that you're putting in all of those aspects so that everybody in your community group feels comfortable. Now, I guess our community group is about 12 or 13 families, right? So you don't have to go that big, but if you did 3 to 4 families, that's enough to have a great community.
Be present. in those relationships that you build, because that's how you get the openness and vulnerability of couples and just things like that. And you're not seeking to try to say, I'm trying to get in your business. It's not about that. It's just about building relationships and just getting to know one another. That goes a long ways.
If I look at our history, remember all of us, we've done pool parties, we've done community service projects with the feeding the homeless, as well as going to the community service food bank.
We did the shoebox one year.
The shoebox one year.
Just vary. We don't do the same. It may not always be the same thing in there. And find, like, one of the things I really love about it is, like, there are people in the community group one of the community groups we're in that love to serve. And so they love mission work. And so we allow them to find places where we can serve, to switch it up, to not always do the same thing.
Right.
The study, one of the most fun studies that I enjoyed was when all of the men led.
That
They
was
were
cool.
doing
That
two
was very
by
cool.
twos. That was so much fun. And what I love to see the men working together, to see them being leaders and being able to expound upon the word together and come up with all of these examples, because a lot of them are great presenters in their job, but to be able to expound the word and make it practical. And then the special part of that after they taught the wives and and all the women that were in there, then they taught the kids the lesson on their level.
That was
Now that
amazing.
was special.
Yes.
And I really enjoyed that. So our group has been very creative in how we get everyone involved. That's important, I think.
Remember we did movie on the lawn,
Oh yeah.
Oh, that was cool.
right?
Yes.
The whole block party.
That was at your
amazing.
house.
It was.
That was the
That was
day
fun.
that I ran the half marathon
It was the
with no
Diva.
preparation.
The Diva race.
one. I remember that. You were
The
just
Diva
being
ride.
In your
cranky.
tutu.
Oh, yeah,
Two.
I was too tired.
I wore that tutu.
You look
You
so
did.
great in it, Chris.
You were
You know,
gracious.
The other thing I would say about this is the fact, a lot of these groups happen through churches mostly, right? And I've tried, to be a part of them, and I've talked to other people who have, and they just seem to fall apart. People change, life happens, and they just somehow just peter out and it just dissolve. This group hasn't. It hasn't. It's still rock
awesome.
solid. I think number one, it's commendable that you, Carlos, and Catherine have, because I know it could not have been easy, and I know that there's probably maybe stuff I don't even know about, drama. I'm sure there was. When you get anytime you get people, adults, families, there's probably some drama.
It's been perfect the entire
Right.
time.
I know there's been drama with me, but we won't talk about that on this podcast.
Not this podcast.
But
It's a whole nother subject.
The fact that this is still just going is awesome. And it's so different than when we first joined.
Yeah.
And I love it. It's
Right.
I loved it when I started it, and I love it now. But
Where you grew to love it.
Yeah, what do you think?
When you first started.
But it's ever evolving.
Yeah, that's what I'm
That's
saying.
the thing that makes it so cool, is that the core has stayed the same.
Yes.
And there's been groups that have rotated around that have come and gone, but the core, you guys being the core,
Well, you guys have
has
been there from the beginning.
well, we have been there from the beginning, but I
Yes.
think as the leaders, you definitely have those groups and those couples that have stayed. But it's so cool that anybody that wants to, or they're welcome. And so it just kind of, I don't know, it's ever evolving.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that we really wanted to make sure that people who were a part of this particular community group was that, you're not just stuck just because we want you to grow. We want also you to multiply. If you are feeling led that, hey, maybe I want to start another
Yep.
group so that I can invite some other people. So that I believe if it gets too big, sometimes you lose that
Agree. Yeah.
intimacy,
intimacy that you need. And so we encourage that if people want to do that, and we support them in whatever ways that we can do that. So I think that's really cool in how we do that. We're not just this is our group, it's closed. No more
Right.
people.
Yeah.
No more people.
No.
We're all about building relationships and we want everyone to win.
All right. So the email address, if you want to join the community group. No, just
Taking applications.
Power Couples Rock.
Right.
At Power. No.
But
That might actually be the email address. I hope no one is writing that down.
no. Like I cannot stress how important just to get involved in the community.
Right. We started this conversation on non-negotiables, and we can see over the last 7-8 years that we've done community together, especially with you all and the rest of the people in the community group, just how mature we've grown, how we've seen our children grow
Right.
up together, how we've modeled for our children what community is truly all about. And we're hoping that they can take that away. All of our kids, they can take that away, that when they get in their own space as adults, they know how to do community and they know how to do it well because we've modeled it. And it's just part of the Acts Church. That's what we're doing. We're being the Acts Church. So if there's anything that anybody needs in our community group, all you got to do is call, ask, pray, and it's done.
It's done.
It's done. So that's what.
Even outside of our community group, we know that there's a missions group that's doing work in the high schools. And, we just put a call out to the group and said they need our support at this time, whatever we can do.
Right.
So we hear the voice of God about how else we can be involved, because eventually the more you serve, the more you feel like you're being an inspiration for others, or you're just being open like Christ would want us to be. So service is what it's all about to us.
Well, service and parties.
Oh, right.
Because we have some good
Pool
parties.
Well,
Right.
Food. Apple pie. Apple pie was good. I think I'm
and
gonna have
apple
another.
pie
It was
was
amazing.
delicioso.
Have to join the community
It's
group.
much,
Yeah.
much better than the potatoes.
Yes, the potatoes were hard.
Everyone out in podcast land, the potatoes were a failure tonight. But Sonia made up for it with
Right.
a fantastic
The
apple
was
pie.
amazing.
She did.
you.
Yes.
But that's why
Last
community
thoughts?
is so important.
Yes.
Yes.
So we talked about a number of non-negotiables. Carlos, if you would just kind of run them down. So and I think we're running to the end here
Yes.
of this portion of the podcast. I mean, this has just been a great topic. And I think it would be good, even if you've jumped on to the 4th podcast or the 2nd podcast or whatever, to go back and listen to all of these non-negotiables, because I think there's a lot of nuggets in here
Right.
for people.
So the first non-negotiable we had was divorce is not an option. And that's what we had agreed to when we first got married. The second was we want our parents to be parents and not counselors and friends. So we want to protect that relationship. And then the third one is community. We are intentional about doing life with other married couples and their families to help us grow as well. So those are the 3 non-negotiables we have in our marriage.
Awesome.
Power Couples Rock.
Facebook, Twitter,
Yes.
YouTube.
official site,
YouTube.
YouTube. Thank you. YouTube. Not Snapchat yet.
Not yet. We're working on
Instagram.
Instagram. You guys got an Instagram?
Yeah, we do.
it. We do.
Okay.
She said yes.
All right.
Twitter.
Do we have a Twitter?
Twitter.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Have a great one.
Thanks for listening to the Power Couples Rock podcast. We hope that you've been encouraged, inspired, and supported. Please listen and subscribe to our other PowerPods, as we are confident that they will strengthen your marriage. Also, don't forget to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. It's there where we can extend these discussions together, take these conversations and your marriage to the next level. Enjoy your day and power up.